switch. It's September, ooh, and it's already chilly here in Geneva, Switzerland. It's back to school time, right? So what can you expect, right? You're in the Alps, and of course the weather is starting to change. That's okay, that's the course of things. Today in the switch, I want to touch on this topic about coming back to school and suddenly having all these mixed emotions about it, which can be either in very positive territory or sometimes in very negative territory, right? And I explained myself. Why would that be in negative territory? Well, you know, you're coming back from your summer leave, right? You were probably, I hope, for all of you, in a sunny place with a lot of lovely people. You had a good time, and then suddenly back to work or back to school or uni. Okay, so it's this sort of burden of having to resume the workload, whatever it is. Okay, now on the other hand, you can feel to the contrary pumped, because this is the time where you're going to start something new, right? A new year in your studies, or a new role potentially, or a new challenge on the workplace. Okay, so I hope for you it sits in that space, of course. But nevertheless, in either way, you know, it comes back to a time where we reassess who we are and how fulfilled and happy we are, and how successful we are, right? We put all these egocentric and self-actualization considerations aside during the summer break, right? We just had a good time, restored our strength and energy, hopefully had some nice physical rejuvenation through food, exercise, and all that, right? But suddenly we back to it, back to the workbench, and we're reassessing. What's my life? Is that it? And am I happy? Am I successful? So I thought I would address this question, because I'm pretty sure it's in the back of the mind of, you know, a lot of us out there. So welcome to what I would call today the happiness switch, where we explore the intricate relationship between success and happiness in our modern world. It's a bit of a challenge. Today we really want to dive deep into this particular question about success. Is it really the key to happiness? Or have we been looking at it all wrong, right? What's this new dictatorship of being successful? We have to say that we're constantly bombarded, right, with images of success from social media influencers, who are living seemingly perfect lives. And also we have in the news of a lot of groundbreaking achievements in business and technologies, all these startups, founders being very successful, selling their business, making a lot of money, right? I think we can truly ask ourselves and wonder, amidst all this noise, are we losing sight of what truly matters, right? So, and I think it begs the question. So let's start by taking a step back and looking at how our understanding of success has evolved over time. And I'm talking over the decades and over the centuries, okay? Because success is fairly new, right? Historically, it was more a question of power. Power was the primary measure of any sort of achievement. And of course, you can think back about prominent figures like, you know, military conquerors like Alexander and the Great back in the antiquity, or more recently Napoleon Bonaparte and other conquerors out there, right? So people were undoubtedly very powerful, but would have we called them successful by today's standards? I'm not too sure, and that's worth asking ourselves the question. I believe the concept of success as we know it today really began to take shape with the rise of capitalism, right? And global trade. And that would be back in the 16th century, after the discovery of not the West Indies really, but the East Indies, so America, right, by Christopher Columbus. And then suddenly there was a surge across all the colonial empires, and that included Portugal, Spain, Italy, France, of course, Great Britain, Netherlands to an extent. Suddenly capitalism became the norm, right? This is what I would call the ascent of money. And that doesn't mean that money that didn't exist before. Of course, people have been coining metal for centuries before, right? We have very old Roman, Greek, Assyrian coins, right? But the ascent of money really started with capitalism in the 16th century. That's the claim. And by the way, I'll put in the blog article and in the footnotes a link to an extraordinary, I think it's BBC program in 5 episodes called The Ascent of Money, which I can only immensely recommend to listen to. It tells the story of how we ended up today, right, with our relationship with money and with our relationship to success, okay? But essentially it started with families like the Medici, which established their financial empire during the Renaissance in Italy, and the funding of all the voyages and trips to Americas and East Indies as well. That marked a turning point, right, in the definition of success. And actually the word successful was first heard in the 1530s, right? And it was as the outcome of something good, of some progress. Right? Before that, the word success, from the Italian or Latin succedere, right, didn't exist. It had to be invented somehow to qualify this new world we had been stepping into, right, the capitalistic world. Okay, so suddenly individuals could become successful, and not just through inherited power. That's the important thing, right? Because previously, it was in the feudal and Middle Age system, it was through inheritance, through lineage, that you acquired power, right? As a lord, as a knight, as a prince, as a duke, as a king or queen, okay? But the novelty is that suddenly you could gain power, not through inheritance, but through your own economic achievements, right? The entrepreneurial spirit, okay? So, and that's been a long story, and I'm not going to tell it today, right? I want to fast forward to the 21st century, and here we are today, and we find ourselves in a world where success is often equated with financial wealth, professional achievements, and more recently, social media influence and fame, right? Fame has probably started with the age of motion pictures, movies, Hollywood, the Hollywood industry, the ascent of show business, right? And but nowadays, of course, that's translated into the sphere of social media. Okay, but if you think about it, this is really a very narrow definition, right, of success that has been created, and that today many can refer to as being the rat race, right? And I want you to dwell on this concept of the rat race, which is a way to describe this constant and often exhausting pursuit of these externally defined markers of achievement: money, social recognition, fame, and all that. And if success is measured like that, well, you have to constantly renew these tokens of success. And it's really hard, right? Unless you become significantly rich or significantly famous, where you start being in a self-entertaining process. You know, if you're just under this sort of threshold, it's just exhausting, right? And we have to talk about that, because I believe that's one of the evils of this age, and that's what can be very detrimental to the mental health and the pursuit of simple happiness by most of us. Okay, so that's the topic today, right? So here's the thing you need to remember, right? Nobody ever won a rat race. It's impossible, right? Because it's never ending, and at some point you'll fall from exhaustion. Okay, this competitive environment that it's creating will. You have to admit it's driving innovation and progress. It's immensely virtuous. I'm not here to put on trial capitalism, right? And a lot of the positive mechanisms of our modern economy and civilization. That's good as far as technological advancement, scientific advancement, and innovation goes, for instance, right? But unfortunately, it also leads to immense stress, and to a level that sometimes we call burnout, right? Or at least this persistent and ongoing feeling of inadequacy in society, on the workplace, because, you know, there's always this pressure that, you know, you need more tokens to be recognized as successful. You still need to climb the ladder, right? Or run the rat race. It's very debilitating, right? So I really want to address that because we'll find that in a lot of conversation about mental health as far as we're concerned. So the reality is that there's only a very small percentage of people that will ever reach the top of their field, all right? Or achieve the level of wealth and fame that our current society often equates with success. Let's be realistic. It's the narrow door, right? And it's the pointy tip, right? On YouTube, you have Mr. Beast, who is up there, and a few followers who are immensely successful and monetizing their social fame with actual money. Same in the movie industry or in the music industry. There's countless music producers that will never make it to the top, right? And they will just dwindle, get along and eventually dwindle, right? And that's terrible, right? I'm not saying that competition is not good. Of course it is, right? Emulation, competition, it's great. But it cannot be what you restrict and limit your life and definition of fulfillment, purpose, and achievement to, okay? That's what I'm talking about. So where does that leave the rest of us, right? We who are not in this rat race, or we are, but we're never going to reach to the top, right? What does it mean? Are we doomed to lives of unfulfillment and self-deprecation? Loser, loser, right? That's how I see a lot of people, unfortunately, when I'm coaching, would that be on the workplace or privately, individuals. I see a lot of that, of self-deprecation, because of the immense pressure society is putting on us, because of these very narrow and very limited criteria we're using to define happiness and success. So to answer this question, I suggest we need to turn to some alternative perspectives on success and happiness, okay? And that's why I want to introduce something that is coming from the Japanese culture, and which is incredibly useful and actionable, and it's the concept of Ikigai. And Ikigai roughly translates in English to reason for being. But of course it's a very partial translation, because each language has a sort of completeness, right, and subtleties that go way beyond that. But Ikigai is the word, and it's reason of being. It's not just the purpose, it's more than that, right? So let's take some time to define what it is. Ultimately, it's the intersection of 4 elements. Ikigai. It is the intersection of what you love, right? What really makes you happy doing. If you could, you would do only that, because that's what really you love. And that can be cooking, that can be teaching, that can be looking after the sick and the unhealthy. That's something that you love and you would do relentlessly and without counting your hours. Okay? That's what you love. Then there's what you're good at. And that's more a question of skills or natural abilities. You can have been trained to do this, or you can have a natural ability to do it. You don't necessarily love it, but you're good at it, right? So again, that doesn't have to be, unfortunately, always the same, right? Something you're good at. So typically, you follow the training, and as a result, you've become a good programmer, or a good lawyer, or a good electrician, okay? So that's 2. Then there's what the world needs. So it's all good that you love to do something and that you're good at doing something, but if nobody needs it, it's a bit pointless, right? You're going to be left. Maybe you're going to be a sort of, a telepathic artist, and nobody cares really, right? But fortunately, most of the time, if there's something you love and you're good at, you can hope that someone in the world needs it, right? But that's the 3rd element, things that the world needs. And finally, the 4th aspect of Ikigai is what you can get paid for. And here goes the money, right? Why? Because again, in this modern world, money is the essential component and vector of sustenance. With money, we buy shelter, right? We buy food, we buy services, we buy property, assets, etc. Right? So, recapitulating, going through again, there's what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for, right? And ideally, Your Ikigai is at the intersection of these four, right? So blessed is the person that can do what they love, what they are good at, that someone needs, and that they can get paid for. That's, the paramount achievement and situation you can be in life, okay? But unfortunately, that's not the case for most of us, right? It's very rare that these four elements get merged together. In this aspect, finding your Ikigai is about discovering the sweet spot where your passions, talents, and values align with the needs of the world and potential for sustenance. Looks simple, right? But unfortunately, that's not the case for a lot of us, right? One can say that this holistic approach to life purpose goes way beyond the traditional Western notion of success, right, that we all know today, okay? Because it incorporates elements of persona, right, and your personal fulfillment, the social contribution you can have, and also some other practical considerations such as making a living, okay? So there's also another important perspective that comes from the, moving away from just Ikigai. The definition of success is very often defined by external influences, right? And comparing ourselves to other measures or scales of achievement, right? So we end up comparing ourselves to other people, right? To the point that even, I think, in China nowadays, right, there is even this sort of social rating, right? And people get rewarded or appraised or granted privilege based on this sort of social measure, or where you are on the global scale, which is terrible in my eyes, right? So to try to cut the bond between the external world and your own measure of fulfillment and happiness, the idea is really to make sure that when you measure progress and therefore success by comparing yourself to your own past achievements, right? Not with others. Because the circumstances and abilities and capabilities of other people, you're not in control of, right? There are so many parameters that can come into play, right? However, what is really important is to look at your past self, so from yesterday or last month or last year or 10 years ago, and check how you have progressed from there. That's this real sense of personal progress compared to your past achievements, okay? So compare that to yourself, not to others. So really, this will shift the perspective, and this shift allows us to celebrate our own growth and accomplishments, regardless of how they measure up to external standards, okay? So in saying that, I'm not trying to deflect and to say, oh yeah, right, I'm cutting bonds with society, and I don't care about whatever other people are doing. No, it's not about that. Of course you care, and you're going still to get inspired by people achieving, in some areas, and others in sports, in arts, in culture, in technology, in science, right? It's always good because it's going to inspire you and give you some traction, right? So don't become the hermit or the sociopath that doesn't want to hear anything more about society. That's not what I'm saying, okay? But yeah, Ikigai, on the one hand, finding a way to connect the four areas: what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can get paid for. Try to measure success at your own gauge and your own scale, from your past achievements to today and future growth. That's important. That's going to help you, getting out of the rat race spirit and stop self-deprecation. I would add one more thing, right, is that success should be viewed as a journey rather than a destination. A journey, right? It's not about reaching any final state, a specific endpoint. Nobody can predict when their life is going to stop. I'm not talking just about death. I'm talking about life events, There are things that we deem so important from a career perspective, social perspective, and then suddenly there's a life event. You lose a partner. You're hit by a sudden disease, right? Terminal disease. Or you have suddenly to cut bonds and move overseas, right? So many different circumstances can happen that dispel the smoke screens of what you thought was the reality, and actually it becomes completely secondary, right? So having all these goals is important, but success is really about the journey itself towards these stretch goals, not about reaching a specific milestone. People will tell you, right? Very successful people will tell you that, you know, when they reach their first $1 million, for instance, the next thing they could only think about was to make the second, and then to make 10, and then 50, and then 100, and then eventually it didn't matter anymore, right? There's no endpoint. That's the message, right? It's more about the journey and the continual growth, the learning and the self-improvement you're putting into yourself, right? That is going to be your sense of success. Let's come back to happiness in itself, okay? And at this point, I really want to pay tribute to a man who had an important role in my life, although we were not related at all. His name was Olivier Silve, and he was a countryman, right, in my village in the highlands of Provence. This man used to live alone in his house and farm his land. And in his later years, he cultivated lavender. So every day he was taking his little cart or trolley, his axe and sickle, and he was going to attend to his lavender, right, in the fields. And then when the lavender was ripe, cutting it, taking it back to the factory, the alembic, and making lavender oil out of it. Very simple life. He lived only with a few cats, and with my grandparents living nearby, who were sharing with him a meal for dinner and a meal for lunch. Okay. And I spent a lot of time as a kid, visiting this man just to spend time, really killing time in the evening by the fireplace, the stove, and talking stuff, right? But there were a few sayings coming back over and over and over again, and one of them was, I'll translate it in English, although it was in French, "Est heureux qui se le croit," and in English it translates as, "Happy is the person who truly believe they are. Happy are the persons who truly believe they are happy." And back in the days, that kind of sounded like a sort of logical loop. I couldn't make sense of it. Say, what do you mean? Yeah, are you happy or are you not, right? No, but there's a profound teaching in this saying. Happy are the persons who truly believe they are happy. So it's a mindset, of course, right? It's really about this sense that there is a happiness switch, right? It's a profound statement that highlights an important truth, right? Happiness is largely a state of mind, not the result of external circumstances, okay? This doesn't mean that we should ignore our ambitions or stop striving for improvement, but it means that actually we are in control. We can decide to be happy, right? Notwithstanding the hardship that we can go through in the life event, right? We can decide. It's in our power. It suggests that we can find contentment and joy in our current situation while still working towards our goals. It's not, antagonistic at all, right? You don't have to be a Buddhist and rejoice only in mindfulness and being in a moment to be happy. No, I mean, it's great if you are, good on you, but you can have that. And then, of course, you can still have your joys and enjoy the journey towards your goals. Okay? That's what we are talking about, right? The happiness switch is always available every day, right? Happiness isn't something that happens to us when we achieve success or when we reach milestones. No, we can decree it. By decree, we say, today I'm happy, right? I don't have to wait to get this $1 million that I'm hoping from the lottery, or this bonus I'm expecting at the end of the year from my my boss, or this promotion I'm working hard towards, or this degree I'm hoping to achieve and to pass, right? The happiness switch, it's a skill we can cultivate, and it's a choice we can make every day. Wow, reveal. And I'll let you think about that, right? And there will be a blog article to discuss further this notion of the happiness switch, right? But once we've said that, how do we navigate this complex landscape of success and happiness in the modern world, right? We're still subject to this external pressure, right? So I'd like to wrap it up by giving you some key takeaways that we will explore together in the next few weeks, right? In the incoming episodes of the Switch, right? I'm not going to leave it here. I'm just introducing some of the things we are going to discuss together, okay? But the first one will be define success on your own terms, okay? Reflect on what truly matters to you, not what society tells you should matter, right? And in that regard, that's where I'd like to transition to the notion of Ikigai, okay? So you have to seek your Ikigai, okay? First, strive to understand what you really love, right? What really makes you happy, okay? That's the first step of Ikigai, finding what you really love. Then, of course, identifying if it matches what you're really good at, right? And then only you can start thinking about about the world, right? About external influences and what the world needs. So what I love and what I'm good at, how can I, showcase it and put it forward to the world, right? Is someone in need of that, right? And finally, can I be paid for it? Okay, but really start by defining your own measures of success through this Ikigai exercise. And that's going to take some time, right? That's going to take multiple days iteration. I want to confess here that I'm still looking for my Ikigai as I speak today, right? I know what I love. Well, no, maybe I don't know completely what I love. I know what I'm good at. I think I'm at this stage of my life where I know what I'm good at. And I know that's something that the world needs because I'm getting paid for it, right? And that's the job I'm doing at the moment. Is it what I love the most? Not necessarily. I love it, I enjoy it, I'm doing it, I'm getting paid for it, the world needs it, I get some recognition. But I'm still looking for what I really love and what I could be even better at doing. And that's probably why I'm doing these podcasts these days, right? Because this is what's taking me to this aspiration to be a coach and mentor for individuals and for corporations, right? Because that's something I really love, and that's something that I hope I'm training myself to be good at, okay? Just to give you an example, so you're not alone on this journey. I believe everyone is on the journey to find their Ikigai, and I am, just like you, okay? Second advice, iterate every day, or every week, think about that, the components of your Ikigai. The third advice would be to focus on your personal growth. Stop measuring your progress against others. It's nonsense. Nobody ever won a rat race, right? So you're never necessarily going to be, even if you love football, soccer, you're probably never going to be a top football player, right? So stop comparing yourself to Ronaldinho and Messi and all that, etc. It's like that in all fields. Measure your progress against your past self. So you may love playing football, right? So just keep playing football with your mates and see how you get better at it. And if that makes you happier every day, that's what matters. Not ending up in the National League, okay? Fourth advice, cultivate happiness as a skill, right? Remember the saying, happy are the persons who truly believe they are happy. Such a powerful mantra. So, and for that you need to practice every day, if you can, gratitude for what you have. And be mindful, be in the moment. And that can start at wake-up time. Right? As soon as you get out of bed in the morning, whatever is your routine, whatever the habits, whatever the rituals, we'll come back to the idea of rituals. They are so important. More than habits. Habits can be mindless. Rituals are mindful. Right? We'll come back to this, which is, in my eyes, essential to establish, to set intentions during the day. You start the day with gratitude and mindfulness. As far as I'm concerned, I do yoga every morning, right? Half an hour yoga to be mindful and be grateful to my body, to being healthy and still able to move around and, explore space, being able to walk, being able to breathe, feeling healthy and feeling able to still project something to the world, right? And not being just as I will be one day, only on the receiving end, right? And this will encourage your positive thinking, right? So happiness, it's a state of mind. You can cultivate it. It's a switch you can find and make part of your daily rituals, okay? And then a few more pieces of advice, maybe a couple more, which would be during your days, try to build meaningful relationships, right? You need to invest in the connection with people you love and with the community surrounding you, right? This is really going to, if you have to anchor yourself into other people, don't do that with remote people who don't know you, celebrities, people you're following on Instagram or YouTube. It's great, it's inspiring, but they don't know you. You will never connect with them, even if you're trying to comment, to be part of a chat, the chatter, really, it's just noise. Connect with the people around you. That's going, you'll get more instant rewards from that, right? And more purposeful feedback and interactions, okay? That's going to make better sense in terms of defining success towards others. They are the people who matter. You'll be successful really and happy because you're going to help someone in your community or in your family, or get helped and loved in return, okay? Now, of course, if that's not enough, and if you think that you need a higher sense of purpose, you can still contribute to something larger than yourself, right? You can still be part of a cause, right? And have a sense that you're having a positive impact in the world around you. Of course, this is always a good thing. Whatever is your avenue, right? If it's a charity, it could be a global one like Greenpeace, or like our Sea Shepherds, or it could be something more local, and you could be part of your local Vinis or Red Cross action group and help people around. Or you could just embrace behaviors that contribute to global change, such as on your diet, on your carbon footprint, these sort of things. This definitely will put little white stones to your sense of purpose, right? But finally, I want to leave you today with a final advice about in this quest of redefining your measure of success and happiness. I would like to remind you that happiness is a fluctuating state, right? That evolves every day. It's a bit of a sinusoid curve, right? There's ups and downs. It's a rhythm. But there is a switch, and you can make that your state of mind. Happiness is not in the future. No. Definitely, if you have this belief, uproot it from your mind. Happiness is not the future. Happiness is now. Future, some people, at my age, I'm in my 50s, and some people will say, oh, I'll be happy the day I retire. Wrong. This is just projections. This is just mirage and, fabrications of your mind. By the time you retire, you might be sick. You might be dead. Sorry to be in the gloom and doom, but that's true. Or you might have bigger problems to address, by then. Or, if you're younger, right, and you're still trying to graduate and having a degree, you would say, oh, the day I've got my degree and I'll get a job, I'll be happy. Wrong. You'll be in the rat race. We'll be just starting your journey in the rat race, and we'll meet again when you reach this point of being in your professional career to talk exactly about how to redefine your measure of success and happiness. Now, enjoy being in this education stage of your life, going to uni, attending lessons. I have very fond memories of my days at uni, and I wish sometimes, I can summon memories. I wish I was more mindful back then. I was so happy in so many regards, and thinking that I wasn't. Projecting myself to future career aspirations and wanting for this thing to end to get to the next one. No. Embrace the journey. Look at your own growth. Develop your skills and compare yourself with your past achievements. Flick the happiness switch every day. Don't worry too much about the final destination. It's a moving goalpost, right? And you're in control. You set the milestones, right? And after this one, there will be another one, and another one, and another one, right? There's no final destinations apart from death, apart from the day we stop our journey on this planet. Okay? So look, I hope that makes sense. I think it's important as we are back to school that we talk about the pursuit of success. It's a powerful motivator, right, for most of us to want to be successful. It's normal, right? We live in this economy, in this day and age, where we want to progress and climb the social ladder and, you know, build a home, build a family, gain some assets, some safety. Financial independence is a goal that, of course, you know, is desirable. But it's crucial to remember that it shouldn't come at the cost of your happiness and, most importantly, your well-being, right? Which is something that we've spoken about a lot already in the Switch and a little bit in the other podcast, this other room of the Camel Hall called Drive and Thrive, right? Which is more for the corporate world. But you can do nothing without ensuring your own well-being first. And we're talking about physical well-being, so health, but also mental health, mental well-being, right? So there won't be happiness if you don't have that first. So ambition, pursuit of success, great motivators, but don't reduce your life to that, right? You also need to cater for your happiness and well-being before anything else. And I think by redefining success on your own term and focusing on personal growth and seeking your Ikigai, you can create a life that is not only successful by societal standards, but also deeply fulfilling on a personal level, right? That's the idea and the intention. Okay. So we, after listening to this podcast, we will still be navigating the complexities of our modern life, and we will strive to find that delicate balance between ambition and contentment, right? Between achieving our goals and between appreciating the present moment, right? So the journey continues. After all, true success lies not in the accolades we accumulate or the wealth we amass, but more in the lives we touch, right? We impact, and the growth we experience, and the happiness we cultivate along the way. Okay? I think that's all for today's episode of the Happiness Switch, so to speak. So I hope this discussion has given you some food for thought about your own definition of success and happiness. By all means, please comment on the blog post that will be attached to this podcast. Just remember, it's your life, and it needs to be defined on your own terms, right? There's no compromise possible here. It's your life, don't forget that. Until next time, this is Lucas. I'm signing off for today. This is The Switch. Thanks for listening. See you next time.